I'm going to try in 20 minutes to cover some of the greatest hits of the college process, some of the things you need to be cognizant of if you're the parent of an 8th grader, 9th grader, 10th grader, or 11th grader. And actually, I'd like to get a sense of who's in the audience. If you're the parent of or actually a middle school student, can you raise your hand? 9th grade, please, parents and 9th graders. 10th grade and 11th grade. Wow, okay, great. Thank you so much. All right, so how many colleges are there in the United States? I'd love somebody to throw a number out that approximates the actual number. Anybody have an idea? 3,500 I heard, that was excellent. There are different ways of counting. One of the most, the number that a lot of people will agree on is about 4,000 colleges and universities. We have this huge laminated map in the Hathaway Brown College office that has 1,200 schools highlighted. And you can sometimes see students and their parents at times staring in a mesmerized coma-like fashion at that map, which only covers a really small portion of what's out there. I always say, if you read the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal, you think that only 20 to 30 colleges exist, because those are the only schools they seem to write about. They're the only schools they seem to be concerned about. But the great news is there are so many ways to be happy in the college process. Thousands of ways. And as you move forward and as you work with your counselors in your home schools, sort of be excited about that prospect. Okay, for those of you who are 8th, 9th, and 10th graders, or the parents of, remember, please don't fall in love with a college if you're younger than 16 or 17. You are going to change so much in these next years. So you really, really need to remain open-minded. I don't know if you guys heard the radio show that we were on this morning, but I did share something that makes us go crazy with happiness here at the HB College office. And that's when a senior reflects on the fact that they are counting the months till they go off to their dream school, a school that 18 months earlier they did not know existed. They had never heard of it. That to us is a great joy. Doing this college process not in a knee-jerk way and being really open-minded about what's out there can yield you kind of the great match, the perfect match. So sometimes kids are like, Mom went there and she loved it, so I think I might love it. And they start thinking that thought at age 9, and thoughts that you've had for a number of years, especially when those years add up to a third of your life or half your life, can be pretty powerful. And really, once you start heading into 10th and 11th grade, it's time to sort of put those aside, okay? All right, next. Why are we talking about college now? There are a lot of 11th graders, but a lot of younger ones too. And the reason why is because you are laying the foundation for future success. So if you're a 9th grader, this is not the year to say, I'm going to space out on everything I'm learning in Spanish 2, because guess what? That's going to have an impact when you take Spanish 3 in 10th grade and Spanish 4 in 11th grade and so on. You are really laying the foundation for future academic success. And colleges, they do look at your whole high school transcript. People who read college applications for a living tend to love teenagers. That's a real plus. You want that in somebody who's rendering judgment on your application, and they love the story of growth. So if you're sitting here thinking, let's not talk about Spanish 2 in 9th grade because that was not a great experience for me, and my transcript shows that, moving beyond and on from that can be very powerful. But things count, so it's important about that, to be cognizant of that. Don't be about strategizing, okay? Sometimes people are like, so what are the activities I need to take part in? What do colleges like? They like what you like. And it's so important to enjoy your in-school and out-of-school activities, challenging yourself, but having this very authentic approach. Authenticity, I often tell my seniors, if I could buy a neon sculpture for the college office and have it flashing, the word I would put in neon is authentic. I don't know how to explain it, but as somebody who sat on the other side of the table and read college applications for years and who has friends who have been reading applications for years. The authentic kid comes through, and the kid who is trying to be something they think the college wants them to be, that comes through as well. So the good news is being authentic is a plus here. And then finally, what we want you to do is think about the things that you can control in the college process early in the college process. There's nothing you can do about some things, there's a lot you can do about others. So, what do colleges look for in an applicant? These are things you can control. First, typically, is your transcript. It is the day-to-day record of how you spent your academic career. And it matters. Growth matters too, so don't worry if you've got some spots in the past that don't feel good. Test scores. The ACT is a coachable test. The SAT, less so, but many of you know, certainly if you're in 10th grade or younger, you are going to be meeting the new SAT. It's rolling out next spring. And that is a test that they are saying, the College Board has made an arrangement to partner with Khan Academy for their test prep. So working on testing can actually yield results. Activities and interests. Please do not feel like you have to have a laundry list of 20 activities. Colleges don't want to see you checking a million boxes. 2 or 3, just a couple of activities that are real, meaningful, that you've grown in. Again, that authentic piece matter. Teacher letters of recommendation. Typically, they specifically say, if they need letters, they often say we want it to be from a junior or a senior teacher. If you're a junior now, now's the time to be thinking, who knows me well in this year, and who might really be able to tell the story of who I am as a thinker and as a learner. Essays and writing. You can't change your 9th grade algebra grade. That ship has sailed. But you can have a real impact when a school gives you the opportunity to say something to them in your voice. I can't tell you how many times I've heard college admissions officers say that the essay tipped the kid into the class. All of a sudden, they became this 3-dimensional being, and they thought, this kid would be a great member of our community. If they didn't have that chance to share that voice, they wouldn't have had that, possibly had that spot. Jobs and volunteer work. I always say this, parents, how many of you worked in high school? Raise your hand high, okay? Do you remember when people worked in high school? It is a good thing to work in high school, okay? You don't have to spend money in the summer, let's say. You can actually earn money in the summer by having a job, okay? And volunteering, if it feels meaningful and real to you, could be a great thing. And then finally, do you fulfill institutional priorities? These are the things you can't control. And let's talk about what some of those are. You can't control these institutional priorities. These are the factors or qualities that a college identifies, and the admissions officer use them to shape a class. They look for a variety of skills, backgrounds, interests, and experiences. And these are some of the institutional priorities or hooks that you can't do anything about. You may love a school, and you may fervently wish that your mother, father, grandmother, and grandmother went to that school, grandfather and grandmother went to that school, and if they didn't, you will not have that extra hook of legacy status, okay? That means many places ask you, do you have any connections in terms of alums in your family? Development potential. That means that's to the level of, I think we'd be happy to build that new library you're looking for, college. And now colleges are savvy, and if you can do that, they are often interested in that. Diversity of all sorts. Happily, colleges have come to the realization that there are so many stories to be told, and that everybody's experience is better when there are different stories at the table. So geographic diversity, for example, it's pretty good to be from Ohio, to be honest. It's not as good as South Dakota and North Dakota, but it is better than Massachusetts, the New England states, or New York City. A lot of schools are happy to have Midwestern kids, especially East Coast and West Coast schools, where they might just have 10% kids from the Midwest. Racial, ethnic, religious, interests, things that set you apart, that aren't as commonly found, all of these can be a hook when an admissions office is looking at you. Athletics. Many schools, one of the first things they need to do is make sure that they have filled all their team rosters. Gender. It's awesome to be a boy who wants to go into nursing, okay? You can't fake that. It's got to be real, but sometimes gender plays a role. Anybody know the breakdown of girls versus boys nationally in the college applicant process? Anybody have any idea? Girls versus boys? Perfect. Whoever's calling it out from that area knows what they're saying. 60% of college applicants are girls, 40% are boys. That's a big difference. Okay. Arts. These places need people to be singing in the choir and painting in the painting studio and dancing in the dance studio if they have those facilities, and sometimes that can make a difference. Important thing, underlined, institutional priorities vary from college to college and from year to year. You can't determine what they're going to want when it's time for you to apply, so just be authentic, follow what is meaningful to you. Another thing you can control is you can demonstrate interest. Has anybody ever heard that term, demonstrated interest? Anybody? Okay, it's a common college admissions term. That is that it is important to know that some, but not all colleges track demonstrated interest. It may frighten you to know that when they send you an email, "Hi, Susie, secretly we got your name from the PSAT board and we thought you'd be interested," they can track whether you open that email. That's a way of demonstrating interest. I opened it, I went to the link, I read it. They can see that, most of these colleges, okay? Some colleges could care less. You could visit their college 10 times. You could say, "I love you so much, I've come for the 10th visit." And they would be like, "How nice for you." That's meaningless to us in the process. But other schools track the kind of email exchanges that you have with their reps, whether you have visited, when they came to your high school, did you come to their session? When they held an event at a local hotel in Independence or in Beechwood, did you show up to that? Those are ways of demonstrating interest. If you're within 30 minutes or even an hour or two from a college and you've never visited, sometimes they wonder, how interested could you be? It wouldn't have been that big a deal for you to come and do a tour or an information session. So you may want to find out which colleges you're interested in actually track demonstrated interest and which don't, okay? And if they do, local receptions and college fairs, spring visit days, often for juniors, taking tours and attending info sessions. These are scripted, literally scripted. So you want to go beyond what that hired, happy student who is giving you the tour is saying. Often we say, after the tour and after the info session, go over to the snack bar with your parents, get some coffee, get some ice cream, look at how people are behaving with each other, pick a couple of friendly looking people and ask them the real questions, okay, about what life is like at the school. More ways of demonstrating interest, as I said, very often the reps come to the high schools. Often that is the person reading your application. Sometimes they'll be like, "Oh yeah, was she the girl in the blue sweater that was asking about the engineering program?" "Yep, that was her." "Great, because I'm reading her application right now." Okay? So sometimes that's a potential additional voice of advocacy. If you don't show up for that, you may not get that additional voice of advocacy. All right, so what else should you keep in mind right now? High schoolers and middle schoolers, immerse yourself in your high school experience. Middle schoolers, get ready for that. You have to ask yourself, how am I helping the colleges understand what kind of community member I'm going to be? What am I giving them so they have a sense of what I'm going to bring to that community? You also do not have to know what you love, but you should be exploring. Okay? They want to have a sense of what makes you tick and what interests you. especially for the younger kids. Reading, most powerful thing you can do. I often say, from this age on, 20 to 30 minutes a day of reading will prepare you in all kinds of ways for the variety of reading you will do in college and on the tests, on the standardized tests coming your way. Families, do your financial aid and merit aid research sooner rather than later. So, internet, sources of information. If you want to write things down, this is the moment to write things down. The collegeboard.org, they are our SAT people, yes, but they have one of the best search engines for data and information. Hard to beat. I don't think a day goes by that we don't refer to that website. Anybody ever go on unigo.com? Raise your hand. That is a website that has student comments, current student comments about social life. Parents, you may want to prepare yourself before going on Unigo. I have read things on there where I've thought, oh no, I didn't want to know that. Okay, next. FIS's Guide to Colleges and Insider's Guide to the Colleges. We think those are the two best books. They're a great complement to each other. They have very different perspectives. Together, they put together a good whole. Summer exploration. How do you spend your free time? That's a question. Some colleges actually say, how did you spend the last 2 summers? Okay? You do not have to spend, do you see in giant letters, no need to spend money on a summer that is one where you have grown, okay? And then exploring financial options, okay? It's a hugely important conversation to talk about cost, families. College is an investment. Be a savvy consumer and talk openly now with your kids about what will and won't work for your family, okay? Colleges believe that a college education should be financed by the past, savings, by the present, earnings, and by the future, loans. Some also use merit money. They'd like to give you $10,000, so you give them the other $40,000 that will make up the year. The average debt burden of a graduating college senior is about $30,000. Okay, that's the national average, and that includes public and privates. Families have to make decisions about what works for them. There is no right or wrong answer. There's just the answer that's right for your family. We have noticed it's a growing concern, and so it's never too early to begin understanding what need-based aid is and what merit-based aid is. You have to know the difference and which schools offer which. There are many schools that offer merit aid based on a variety of factors. Barry is going to click on College Board Big Future. This is so helpful. College Board Big Future, he's going to type in Boston University right now. We're on that website, College Board Big Future. Type in Boston University. There is a whole bunch of information, all these spots you can click, but on the left, if you click Paying, it'll show you the cost. After you pick yourself up off the floor and see that it's $62,000 or whatever it is, in the low 60s, okay? In-state and out-of-state, because it's a private, is the same. Click up towards the top, financial aid by the numbers. It will let you know what the average loan is, what the average grant is. Grant is scholarships and loan. See the pie chart at the top? What percentage of the package is made up of financial aid that you don't have to pay back? That's the green. And the kind you do have to pay. Average debt burden. And really, really important. See those green lines? The bottom one shows the percentage of kids on financial aid who've had their full need met. Barry, I can't see. I think it says 45%, 43%. 47%. And on average, towards the top, about 90% of need is met. Barry, can you type in Colby College really quickly? Colby College. How many of you have heard of Colby, a small liberal arts college in Maine? And we click on Paying. There's data here for everybody. And we always say, this is a central source, you always must check with the actual school to be sure the data is correct. They meet 100% of demonstrated need. Not 90%, and 100% of the kids who applied for aid had all their need met. If you walk out with one website, it's this one, okay? And the last thing is, we want you to look at net price calculators. Write that down. Federal mandate, every school has to have one, where you can begin to get a small beginning understanding of what the cost and finite philosophy of the school is. College website, College Board has a net price calculator, okay? Listen, enjoy the rest of the evening.